Okay, this is Mrs. Murdock, and I'm going to go over DNA structure in more detail and more molecular detail, especially with reference to that 3' versus 5' orientation they keep talking about. That can get confusing. So I'm going to start with just the basics here. If I draw a nucleotide, I'm going to start with ribose, which has sort of a pentagon with an oxygen holding it together and then one carbon sticking up like that. And then it has a phosphate over here that's part of the nucleotide, phosphate, and then sugar. And then over here I'm going to make a base, and I'm going to have this one be adenine. I'll just have that be adenine. And then I'm going to keep going down here. I'm going to make, oh, here's another phosphate that links up with the next ribose sugar. And then let's say this is, oh, let's just say this is a cytosine here. Okay. And then this would go on and be another phosphate down here. All right. Then on the other side of this, I could draw the complementary strand to these two particular nucleotides in this, right? So what would the base be that would complement A? It would be T. Very good. Thymine and adenine always go together. And this complementary strand is also antiparallel to this strand. So now bear with me because I have to draw this upside down. Let's see, this ribose is upside down because it is going antiparallel to this one, see? So again, we would have a phosphate here, a sugar, and a base. And then this would also be connected to another phosphate, which is connected to another sugar. Bear with me, drawing pentagons upside down. There we go. And another carbon sticking down. And then here, what base would go with C? G, right? Because guanine and cytosine always go together. Okay, so this is a very short DNA molecule made of only 2 nucleotides stuck together. You know very well that it would go much further in both directions if we were talking about a real DNA molecule here. Real DNA molecules are thousands of nucleotide base pairs long. But the reason why we say there are these 3' and 5' ends to these strands is because we're using the numbering of the ribose, this ribose sugar, this pentagon with the carbon sticking up. This is a ribose molecule. And if you are intending on going on and doing anything medical, if you're going to go to medical school or if you're going to do anything with biochemistry, you're going to take organic chemistry. And organic chemists tend to number the carbon molecules in the organic molecules that they're encountering. So ribose is an organic molecule made with a carbon skeleton. This first carbon here, even though it doesn't say C, this is actually a carbon here. That is carbon number 1 to the right of the oxygen. This is carbon number 2. This is carbon number 3. Here is carbon number 4. This is carbon number 5. You can do the same with this ribose right here. Again, carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we were traveling up in this direction along this strand, this half of the DNA molecule, we would, if we traveled up this way, encounter the 3rd carbon before we encountered the 5th carbon, wouldn't we? And that's all it is. That whatever enzyme is dealing with this particular strand, it's encountering the 3' or the 3rd carbon on the ribose first, and then the 5th carbon next, which means that this is the 5' end of this strand, and this is the 3' end of this strand. If we go over to the complementary and antiparallel strand facing it, we have to be careful to number the carbons the same way, even though the riboses are upside down. So again, this is carbon number 1, the carbon connected to the base. This is carbon 2. This is carbon 3. Here is carbon 4. The 3 carbons sticking up is carbon 5. Same thing here. Here's carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now if we're traveling up this way, if we are an enzyme with a picky active site, we are now encountering the 5th carbon first and the 3rd carbon second. So this strand, we are going in the 5 to 3 direction. Now, why does this matter? Well, the reason why it matters is because enzymes have active sites, and those active sites are very picky in terms of how they can attach to the strand, whether it's a 3 to 5 direction or a 5 to 3 direction. It turns out that DNA polymerase, forgive my simplistic picture of it, okay? Let's say that this is our DNA polymerase, okay? And DNA polymerase is responsible for the most important part of DNA replication. It's the enzyme that attaches to a strand when this one isn't here, right? And reads it in a 3 to 5 direction and adds DNA, free DNA nucleotides complementarily as it goes along. And this active site here is looking for the 3rd carbon first and this phosphate sticking out and going in a direction like that, and is guided by the shape of the sugar. And that's why this winds up being important. And it even winds up being really important for protein synthesis, because the RNA polymerase molecule does the exact same thing. It likes to read a template in a 3 to 5 direction. Okay, so now let's go down and actually look at what that's going to look like in a less molecularly detailed picture, right? Kind of like the thing that you saw in the movie. Let's draw that. So let's say that we've got a strand that has been opened up by a helicase, right? So we've got our replication fork, and we have DNA helicases here, and it's unzipping the molecule and going this direction and opening up more and more and more. And this right here is the replication fork. Right there. That is moving further this way because the helicase is unzipping it. And so what you have here is the exposed old DNA strands, right? That are now exposed and ready to have their bases be matched up with free nucleotide bases and for new strands to be created, right? So let's say that this is the 3' end here, and if that's the 3' end, then this over here is the 5' end, right? That's DNA. And if that's so, that means that this down here is a 3' end, and this at the other end here is a 5' end. Okay. So now I'm not gonna worry too much about primase or any of the many enzymes involved here. I just want to give you an idea of what the leading and lagging strands, what the consequences are for those. In this case, this would be the leading strand up here. This would be the strand where the DNA polymerase, let's say that this is our DNA polymerase, can go continuously in this direction towards the fork because it is reading the template in a 3 to 5 direction and creating new DNA nucleotides to attach to the template in a 5 to 3 direction, right? So it's reading a 3 to 5 direction, creating in a 5 to 3 direction. That's a really good thing to remember. And the leading strand can just keep going and going continuously without stopping because it's opening in a 3 to 5 direction. So the more this opens up, it's just more 3 to 5 direction, so it can just keep going continuously. Down here, though, there's a problem because we're at the 5 strand here and the 3 strand is over there. So this is called the lagging strand. This is called the lagging strand because DNA can't attach to this and go this way because that's the wrong direction for it. Instead, it's going to be doing it this way. So here's that same DNA poly. And it is going to read in a 3 to 5 direction, right? 3 to 5 direction, and create in a 5 to 3 direction. 5 to 3 direction, right? But then it's going to stop. It's going to run out of space and have to go back and attach here and then keep going like this, right? And then the more the replication fork opens up, oh, then it's going to have to go back again even further and keep back stitching to keep making more and more, because it can only go in this direction, reading in a 3 to 5 direction, creating a 5 to 3 new strand. So these pieces here that result, this piece and this piece, are called Okazaki fragments. Okazaki fragments because Mr. Okazaki was the one who discovered them. It's a little bit more piecemeal than the leading strand. Okay, does that make sense? So hopefully that will help any confusion that you come across with that. Just remember that DNA polymerase has a very picky active site, and it likes to move along the template in a 3 to 5 direction. And we got the 3 to 5 numbers by the orientation of carbons in the ribose part of the nucleotides. Okay, so that's DNA polymerase and an explanation of 3 and 5 prime orientation, and I hope that was helpful.